Greetings, coaches. You are listening to the All Access Coaching Podcast, powered by the Glazier Drive. My name is Rick Stewart, and I created All Access Coaching with the vision of coaches helping coaches, which is why I partner with the folks at Glazier, because they share the same vision that I do, making you a better coach. This podcast, I'm so excited to talk to my good friend, Chip Seagle, who I met at Roger Holmes's Wing T Clinic back in 2016. We've stayed in touch on social media, and I'm really excited that Coach has decided to join the All Access family and help the team of us give back to the next generation of coaches. Obviously, Coach Seagle is also a really close friend for many, many years with Roger Holmes. I want to take a minute to introduce you to our sponsor for today's episode. CoachComm is the nation's leading provider of coaching headsets, practice systems, and coach-to-player listening devices. Teams of every size rely on CoachComm. From high school to college, champions across the U.S. choose CoachComm for their coaching communications. Innovative products, along with 30-plus years of experience and expertise, are what teams demand and what CoachComm delivers. When your game depends on communication, trust the proven leader with headset solutions that you can count on to deliver outstanding performance and peace of mind. Make sure you visit them today at coachcomm.com. This podcast is being brought to you by allaccesscoaching.com, where a group of championship level coaches, which our newest member is Chip Seagle, are dedicated to helping you as a coach. We have tons of free content. Our Coaches Corner has hundreds of blog articles. We do 3 webinars a week, which is what we're about to do right now. We have all of our podcasts organized by subject on our website, but you can also find our podcast everywhere podcasts are found: Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. You can download tons of free PDFs and PowerPoints from our website straight to your computer. We have our locker room, which is a forum where you can get all your questions answered. Coach Seagle will be part of that locker room, and if you ask questions in his thread, he'll get notified. He can jump on there and help you find the answers you need. And if he doesn't have the answer, he'll just tell you so. We also have our camps and clinics pages, so you can see what city our team of coaches are speaking in, and also attend one of our many deep dive installs or systems clinics, which Coach Seagle will be part of next year. These are not your typical clinics where a coach talks for only an hour. You spend 12 hours learning everything about the system, asking questions, pulling up game film, and watching live player demonstrations so you hear the buzzwords and see the corrections being made on the fly. Our online store does have over 800 courses and 20 playbooks and 17 systems. Coach Seagle is going to be the number 18 system that you can purchase. However, if you're a member of the website, you get all this stuff as part of your membership. So I'm really, really excited about the All Access Coaching website. I'm really excited about the All Access Coaching family that we built. And I'm really excited that my friend Coach Seagle has made the decision as he's at his retirement years. I think he's retiring here in a month or two, to jump on board and give back to this great profession of coaching football. Coach Seagle, welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to start off with I really enjoy your Facebook posts, and you kind of like these daily, like just positive posts that you do. Tell me a little bit about that, because social media has gotten to be such a negative place and a cesspool, and people arguing about politics, and we're the divided states of Americans to the United States of America. And I like yours. Yours are very uplifting. They're positive. They're inspiring. Tell me a little bit about that, your decision to not really post football stuff. It's just always really positive things. I think you call it like the words according to Chip or something.
Well, it was about 6 years ago. I just decided that I'm not going to get into anything with anybody. I'm not going to argue. I've gotten to a couple of little sports debates with people that were fun, but I wish that's all we fought about in this country. And I just decided I was going to be positive, so I just made my page open. I mean, it's open. And I used to have a policy. I didn't let kids, you got to graduate high school to be on it, but I finally just said, forget that. Because it's open anyway. And I'm just trying to be positive with people and come up with positive messages. I'm a runner. We didn't mention this. I used to weigh 350 pounds. And right now I'm kind of heavy for what I normally am. I'm up to 240 now, but I run. I work out religiously, not with weights. I'm a hernia catcher. And I think when I do it, and a lot of it is football related, but like little old ladies, I live in a town of 1,600 people, Pine Mountain, Georgia. It's in west central Georgia. It's the home of Callaway Gardens. Most people have heard of that. It's a big golf place, which I don't even golf. But I'm going to tell you what, on an early summer morning, before those guys tee off, there ain't nothing like running on a golf course in West Georgia. And I think of things, and some of it's football related, and it's a positive thing, and just stuff like that. Like one day I was driving to school at the school I'm at right now, and there's a roundabout in the middle of the country. There's this roundabout in the middle of Meriwether County, the county right above us, and there was somebody in it, and they just stopped to let me in. And I got to thinking, I said, you know what? I said, that's a Facebook post waiting to happen. You know, if you're in the roundabout, you've always got the right of way. But sometimes in life, people just go around in circles just so they can be right. You know, that's about as negative as I got. But, you know, just little things like that just happen in my life. And I'm a teacher at heart. And we used to call them when my kids were growing up, we called them Mormon moments. Remember those commercials when we were kids, the Latter-day Saints? You and I are about the same age. They had those great commercials, those family-centered commercials, like something bad would happen and the parent turned it into a teaching moment. And we nicknamed them Mormon moments. And I just look for Mormon moments in life, you know, try to teach something. And just be positive. And then one thing, and then shortly after that, I retired for the first time. I'm about to re-retire, Rick, and retired from Alabama after 34 and a half years. I'm fixing to have I just finished my 37th year, and I'm going to get out of the classroom. And I made the decision. You and I were talking before, and then right after that, you called. I went like, holy cats. I said, this is crazy. I made a decision to have this time to work on me, to work on my stuff, to work on my YouTube, my books that they're pretty popular right now for me to be promoted on my Twitter, which is not that big a deal, and my Facebook. And I thought, well, if I have more time and just be a coach, don't worry about eligibility. Don't worry about, I just want to coach football. I don't want to worry with all the mess. Let the young guys do that. And the younger guys. And so that's where I am right now. And I just try to be positive. And my Be Elite hashtag, which I'm sure some people are tired of seeing because I use it so much, but that came from, I read right after it came out, Above the Line. And it is one chapter, living above the line. But in my thought, okay. All right, so I was reading Urban Meyer's book, Above the Line, and I got that. There's one chapter, one paragraph in that chapter that talks about being elite. You know, when we think about elite, we think about the fastest kid, the strongest kid, the best receiver, you know, the 4- and 5-star kids, that's elite. And everybody's got the elite this, all these travel teams in every sport, elite so-and-so. But it said being elite is just being the best version of you. And how to become elite is by being better today than you were yesterday and being better tomorrow than you were today. So in 2017, I was running the weightlifting at Lynette, my last Alabama job, and we started doing that every day. I'd have the kids say it. I said, what is elite? And they would go back at me, being the best version of you. I said, how do you become elite? Being better today than you were yesterday, being better tomorrow than you were today. And I'd go 1, 2, 3. And they go, be elite every day. And I've been doing it ever since. And that's what it's all about. It became a mirror, Rick. It's shooting back at me. And I find myself being a better husband, being a better grandfather, being a better father, because I got to say, I said, what is the best version of me? You know, and, being older doesn't mean you're grown. You know that. And I think me preaching the Be Elite message has made me a better person. And here's the thing. It's kind of like Christianity. You know, God doesn't call us to be perfect. He calls us to strive for perfection, something Coach Lombardi used to talk about. You know, we're going to try for perfection and catch excellence along the way. And that's what being elite is. And that's all I'm trying to do. You know, and I'm not elite. I call myself on it. I apologize. I said, that was not me being the best version of me. And I've made mistakes, and I've made mistakes since then. But you know what? I understand it. And it's just a philosophy that I try. And I've now, last summer, I went on a tour. I went down to South Alabama, North Florida. I went over to Southern Mississippi, a few schools here in West Georgia. And I spoke to groups of kids, talked about being elite and talking about being the best version of you. And don't compare yourself to other people. You know, I'm not comparing myself to Nick Saban. By the way, Alabama comes up a lot with me because I was born and raised over there, and my daddy was a big Alabama fan. I had no choice. But I'm not comparing myself to Nick Saban. I want to be the best version of Chip that I can be, as I call myself Coach Chip, because when I first started coaching in 1985 at a little country school in Southeast Alabama, all the kids called all the instructors, teachers, coaches by their first name. It was like, you know, Mr. Jim, Coach Chip, Coach Mac, Miss Ruth. Everybody went by their, because that's what you call people in the country. You call them by their first name. You know, here in little old Pine Mountain, Georgia, everybody calls my wife Miss Tammy. I mean, everybody calls her that. People older than her call her that. And, but we're talking about the YouTube, the Facebook stuff. I've had ladies, like, you know, I would say little old ladies, but ladies, because stop me in our little grocery store here in town. Say, I just love your stuff on Facebook, because they see it because they're friends with my wife on Facebook. And they said, you can make football, you know, analogies from football that even somebody like me doesn't know football that well understands it. And I said, well, football is the game of life. I said, it's the best life teaching sport. And I'm not being, and I am being prejudiced and partial, but I have coached all the other sports. You name it, I've coached it. And because all those little schools, you know, you had to have that second, third sport just to put food on the table. And back when I was younger, and football is just the ultimate team sport, and it's the ultimate teacher of life, you know, it's short of being a Marine, you know. So, and that's what I've tried to do. I just try to make a difference. Sitting in the backyard several years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, right after the Be Elite thing started, we were sitting in the backyard on a Sunday evening, as we're prone to do on a beautiful day like we've had here lately. And I looked over there and I said, you know, that pine tree is putting out a lot of pine cones. And my wife said, yeah, it's dying. I said, what? She said, plants are like human beings. They're going to do what they got to do to procreate. And when they know, when they go to seed, when they get to a certain age, you know, we garden. When the lettuce has been in there so long, it goes to seed. It's not worth eating. It gets bitter because it's producing seed so it can live. It can keep on living. And it occurred to me, that's what this thing is. I've been doing it, didn't even realize I was doing it. Not that I'm about to die or anything, but when you get to a certain age past the middle, when you got more behind you than you got in front of you based on the averages, you start realizing, what can I do to make a difference? And because I've been doing it so long, young coaches tend to gravitate to me, and I love young coaches. They got great ideas. A lot of my stuff I do now, I got from young guys. And so it's not just the kids anymore, it's coaches. That, you know, that I try to help. And it's not that I'm a guru, because I'm not an expert. I know what I know. And maybe more importantly, I know what I don't know. And I'll tell people, I don't know, but I'll see if I can find an answer. And that's all I'm trying to do, because human beings are going to die twice. We all die twice. There's the biological, physical death where we cease to breathe and we're gone. And then the second death, the final death, is when your name is spoken on earth for the last time. You know, guys like Abraham Lincoln will never die. You know, unfortunately, the evil people will never die either, because they're going to keep, you know, as long as there's history classes, they're going to teach about Adolf Hitler and Joe Stalin, but they're also going to teach about Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy, you know, and Vince Lombardi. You know, these are people that have made such an impact that they'll never die, because their name is going to live on as long as there's human beings on earth. And that's what I was trying to do and didn't realize that I'm just a pine tree casting off pine cones just to leave, you know, some amount of a legacy, not in an arrogant, you know, conceited way, but just to know when I draw my last breath, Rick, I don't want to say like, dang it, I didn't make an impact. I want to make an impact. And coaches, players, you know, people that I meet, I try to be positive. I just try to be positive with people. And just, you know, as one of my buddies that I first coached with years ago, that we still stay in touch, I just want to get after it every day. And that's why I eat the way I eat. I eat right. That's why I exercise and I run, because I know if I do those things, the longer I'm going to keep throwing out pine cones.
There you go. Hey, Coach, man, holy moly, I really like that stuff, especially I never heard that about dying to deaths. That's powerful. Well, we got into your life philosophies. Coach, let's be a little bit more specific for the younger coaches and coaches that aren't in the Alabama and Georgia in your neck of the woods. Coach, who are you? Where did this journey start? Maybe kind of really be with some civics. Tell us, who you are and where you've been.
Well, it started in August of 1972 when my daddy took me to Pee Wee football practice and dropped me off. And he always wanted to be an athlete. He was raised by a coal miner just outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and he didn't think sports were a good thing. So my daddy was going to make sure I was involved. And I just fell in love with football. And when I graduated high school in 81, I went to JUCO for a few months. Didn't play football. I was a big old boy, and then I walked on at Troy when Coach Gailey came. And people said, "Oh, you played at Troy?" And I said, "No, I practiced at Troy." And Tommy Lasorda was like a hero of mine. He never made it to big time either, but he turned out to be a pretty good baseball manager, ball coach. And I remember the offensive coordinator, because I was a scout team DN. He came up to me one day at a water break and he said, "What are you doing?" I had this little bitty spiral notebook. Remember those little bitty spiral notebooks? And I would keep it in my pants. I'd tuck it up into my knee pad and I would write things down. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Taking notes." And he goes, "Why?" Like I was a spy. I said, "Because I'm doing this because I want to be a football coach. I'm getting my union card here, And he said, "Don't bring that out here anymore. Keep it in your locker. Just remember stuff." So I got a really good binder and I kept it in my locker. And every day I would sit there and all these guys doing what guys did and all that kind of stuff. And I'm writing stuff down. And that's the reason I'm no huddle. We were no huddle at Troy. Coach Jeffcoat, the OC, we were no huddle, flex bone, wishbone. And I got out and I started working at a little country school. That's where I got the name Coach Chip. And just been coaching ever since and done everything there is to do. We were split back veer. We've been I've been flex bone, power bone, two tights, wishbone. That quarterback couldn't throw a cat out of the house and he was so slow. If he raced a pregnant woman, he'd come in third and we would just hand the ball off and run double powers all night. I've done it all. And in the 90s, we went wing T, a coach that I was with. And I just fell in love with it because it just had an answer for everything. And I love the whole concept of what Coach Raymond called putting players in conflict. Now, I'm going to tell you, Rick, in South Alabama, we don't put folks in conflict. We put them in a bind. Okay. And sometimes I say that, and I know on my YouTubes that I got coaches from really all over the world. I got a bunch of them in Europe that watch me. They said, "What's he talking about? Put them in a bind?" Because in South Alabama, you put somebody in conflict, you put them in a bind. And I got that whole idea of putting people in a bind. And one of my dearest friends in coaching, we started coaching together in 93 in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He was one of the first guys back around 2000 to go air raid. And the staff he was with, and he's been doing it ever since, been a head coach, OC at some big programs in Alabama and even in Georgia for a minute. And I started, and we were doing really well in the wing T at Lynette. We're running like a hybrid wing T, jet, rocket, a lot of, the red, white, and blue sets, not a lot of flat backs. And, but we had a run of quarterbacks coming and you knew they were good. Their daddy was the head coach and the athletic director, and he'd been a heck of a quarterback. And I watched these kids play rec league football. They were pretty good. And I remembered watching you. This is my story I warned you about. Way back. How long have you been doing those videos, the VHS and the DVDs?
2010, 2009, I think.
I knew it was about that time, about the time I went there, because in my head, I was thinking like 06 or 07. And I saw you and I said, we can run this stuff out of wing T, out of gun. And it started evolving. Now, I don't do the pistol thing like you did because we didn't have those kind of kids. We had those kind of kids, but we had a bunch of tall basketball players, a bunch of track guys. And I just started watching. And then one guy came up to me. He was a community coach. And he goes, what you're trying to do, he goes, you need to go on YouTube and look at what Clemson's doing. And this is right after the guy that learned under Malzahn, that was the head coach at Arkansas, I can't remember his name right now. I'm drawing a blank, but he'd been the OC at Clemson. And anyway, I'll go crazy trying to remember it. And I started studying Clemson. I said, yeah, that's what we're doing. And because they ran like pin and pull, like buck sweep. And I started realizing we can do all this stuff. There's nowhere is it written. You got to run inside zone and outside zone to run spread concepts. So we, the first year we flexed out the tight end to about 3 or 4 yards, and we cracked the crap out of some linebackers. Let me tell you, because back then you could still crack them. And then I started spreading them out even more, and we would go like twins one way and tight slot the other way and run a short buck. And it just, and we scored like 500 something points in 15, 630 points in 16, 618 points in 17, won 15 ball games, about 500 points, got beat in the third round the next year. And then the last year we scored a little over 600 or right at 600 and won the next state championship. And then I said, that's enough. And I got out of the classroom and retired. And then they talked me into a little school nearby here where I live. And I was living in Georgia at the time because I'm an Alabama boy that fell in love with the Georgia peach, but it's right near the river. And so I was commuting just across the river into Lynette, Alabama for many, many years. And when I retired, I still kept coaching there. And then this other school called and I said, I've always heard about this double dipping. I'm going to try it. And so I went over there for a year, and then I went to another school this year. And it was about midway through the year. And I said, I still want to coach. The fire burns, but I don't want this classroom anymore. And, that's a whole nother discussion that not for this podcast, but you know what I'm talking about. The times have changed, but I still want to coach, and I still want to be around the kids. I still want to be around coaches, and I still want to do the things, the fun part. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish out this year. The principal came to me today. He said, are you going to finish the year? And I went, well, yeah, I'm going to finish the year. He said, well, I was just here. And I said, well, all that stuff's happening, because I told 2 or 3 teachers about our discussion. And he said, oh, okay. He said, okay, I was making sure. And I said, no, you're good. You're good. Because there's a teacher shortage in Georgia too. And I said, don't panic. I said, I'm not leaving. And it's not that I'm that a great teacher, but heck, they're the ones that asked me to teach. That's how desperate they were. They said, we'll take this guy. And
Coach, I looked it up. I think you're talking about Houston Nutt.
No, it wasn't Houston Nutt. It was the guy after Nutt, Chad Morris. Oh, when he was a high school coach in Texas, and Malzahn was the high school coach, I believe, at Shiloh in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. He heard about what Malzahn was doing and went and visited with him. So he was kind of like the first Malzahn disciple, but now he's totally gone in a different direction with some of the things he does. But it all came from the same genesis,
Yeah. So backing up, so you figure out kind of a way to marry spread concepts with wing T concepts, still with the fundamentals of conflicts. And so that period of, did I hear right, like 2014 to like 2017, you were putting up 500, 600, 700 points a game. And wasn't there a state title somewhere in there?
There's 2 of them, 2 state titles. Should have been 4 in a row. We got beat in the 4th round in 16. And I'm going to tell you, and people talk about one player doesn't make a difference. We were in pretty good shape. We're playing a power in Alabama, Fife High School. Coach Benefield does a heck of a job. He runs that ugly double wing gun thing. Yeah, he got from the
Tim
Murphy in California. Yeah. And and we could have beat him if one guy hadn't moved. We had a 300-pound nose guard that left us a 2A school, moved 30 miles down the road to a 6A school, and took his team to the state championship game in 6A, just dominating the middle of the line. And if we'd have had him, I guarantee you they wouldn't have scored half the point. They beat us like 38-28 in the semis. And they went on to boat race a team in the finals. Then the next year we went 15-0 and won it. The next year we were smelling ourselves, got beat in the 3rd round. We didn't do what we were supposed to do to win, but thankfully they woke up. And in the 19 we won it again, went undefeated again because, but we could have. That's how easy we had the best team, in my opinion, 4 years in a row, but we won 2. So, yeah.
So, Coach,
put up some points.
We've kind of gotten your life philosophy and got your career there, the bulk of it in Alabama. Now you're riding off in the sunset there in Georgia. I like that. I'm an Alabama boy who married a Georgia peach. I love it. I love it. Coach, can we get more specific now? Maybe you could share your screen and let's get more specific into some offensive philosophy. And I know you have some things you wanted to share with coaches. And then I'd like to get, after that, I get a picture of your formation up and let's really talk about what you run. Is it wing T? Is it spread? Is it butt sniffer double wing? So yeah, Coach, here we go. Yeah, let's share your screen here and start the slideshow. And let's get into your offensive philosophy there, Coach. Slideshow, start present. Yep. Awesome.
All right. So you can see it?
Oh yeah. Looks good, Coach.
Oh, awesome. Now, a lot of this on the left is pretty basic stuff. Be prepared for all opponents. And there's a great clip that I don't have right now. We're in the state championship game in 2017, and I'm in the press box at Bryant-Denny Stadiums where we played the state title that year. The next one we won was at Jordan-Hare at Auburn. So I've got the tour of both the big schools in Alabama. And the guy that's really he was my right-hand man. He's my heart, Ernest Webb. He was the guy on the other end of the headset on the field. And we got the ball about the 6-yard line. It's 3rd and goal. And all of a sudden he tells the quarterback tells the running back to go in motion, to leave. And the running back looks at him, but I got a firm philosophy that I've been teaching them the whole time I've been there. And all these kids at this time had been with us like 8 years. I mean, they knew that from the time they were in elementary school. Little small school system in Alabama. And this rule is do whatever the quarterback says. I can fix one a lot easier than I can fix 11. So if he's wrong, I'll fix him. Well, the quarterback told him, go in motion. And the guy just went in motion and took off. And when the defense reacted the way they did, I took one step and hit the H, which is like our tight end, lined up tight, but off the line, wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. And that was the backbreaker for the game. Because my guy on the sideline, Coach Webb, was saying, like, what's he doing? What's he doing? And I realized what he was doing about that time. I said, I think he's about to score a touchdown, Webb. And sure enough, he did. And the example, what I'm saying is preparation trumps play calling, Rick. Preparation trumps play calling. Vince Lombardi's players would tell you that back in the heyday of the Packers, he was the most useless man on the sideline on Sunday afternoon. Because back then, Bart Starr called all the plays. But Coach Lombardi had prepared them to such a way. And here I had called a play. I don't remember what the play I called was. But he saw something through preparation that he knew would work. And this was a 10th grade quarterback who had just turned 16 like a month and a half before. And by the way, that 10th grade quarterback is now a sophomore strong safety at the University of Alabama.
Pretty good player.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. So, they all coach Chip. Take advantage of what the defense gives you. Again, goes back to that one play. Get the ball to playmakers. This is what my spread buddy told me. Excuse me. He said, it ain't always about the X's and O's. It's not always about the linemen, because I'm an old line coach. He goes, get the ball to playmakers. Think players, which is the next thing. Think players, not plays. There's the famous story Saban tells, he's a sophomore playing in the region championship or district championship game. And they call timeout. And he goes over and asks the coach, he said, what should I run? He goes, I don't know. You tell me. And he said, but coach, he was kind of hoping the coach would take this cup from him. And he said, you got the fastest man in the state at wide receiver. You got an all-state running back. He said, I'd call something that one of them gets the football. So he goes out there and he fakes it to the running back and throws a touchdown pass to the fastest man in the state of West Virginia, and they win the game. Saban says, think players, not plays. And that's where he learned that lesson as a 15-year-old quarterback in West Virginia. We want to stretch the field vertically and horizontally through my jet. I love the jet, okay, and vertically, and I love the fade. And people say, like, man, the fade, that's like a 50-50 ball. I don't throw it that much, but we run a ton of fade routes, which sets up so many other things, putting those corners in an uncomfortable position, making them think, is this guy going to beat me this time? And we'll run that thing. And we got so many routes that come off that little outside release for the fade that puts those cornerbacks, because no high school boy wants to get burned deep. No high school DB, no DB, but I'm talking about, to them, it's like, I may give up the hitch, but I'm not getting beat deep. And so that's what I'm talking about, stretch the field vertically and horizontally. Get first downs. Everybody thinks, because we do a little bit of the sexy spread stuff with the passing game, that everybody thinks that coaches that throw the football a little bit aren't patient. I'll take whatever you give me. I'll move the chains all day long. Find the weakest defenders. That's something we do in film study. And I don't mean on Sunday afternoon. I mean, you better have it ready on the staff. I mean, it's all right. I asked the O-line guy, who's the weak D lineman? Who can we trap? That's an old wing T coach kind of thing. Who's the guy we can trap? Who's the guy we can kick? Who's the guy we can read? All these kind of things. Who's the booster club's president's son that's playing corner to the boundary? Always going to flip them. Find that guy. And that's not a knock against booster club president. It's just an old coaching thing. Rick knows that, and everybody watching this video does. Score TDs in the red zone, okay? And, of course, in high school, your kicking game's not the best. We were fortunate to have a couple of good ones over at Lynette at the end of my career. Put defenses, better defenders in conflict. Don't run away from them. I learned that coaching a kid back in the early 2000s that's now number 96 with the Buccaneers. He played defensive end for us. Now he went to college, and the buffet, he ate his way into a 3-tech. And people would run away from him, and he would just run them down from behind and rip quarterbacks and strip them and things like this. You got to run at these guys, make them wrong, use their technique and their coaching against them. Okay. I love this, and I don't know where I got it. I've been saying it so long. We'll just say I came up with it. I'm joking. Treat big plays like sudden change. And what I mean by that, if we're on our own 25 and we run a jet and it breaks for like 40, 50 yards, we're going right now. We're going right now. We're coming right back with something. We're lining up. Everybody thinks I'm an up-tempo guy because I'm no huddle, and we do go up-tempo. But I coached at a lot of small schools at the end of my career, and kids going both ways. You can't do what, these up-tempo teams that we see do in college when, you got 20 kids rotating in on offense and they're not playing any defense. But what we could do is pick our spots and treat a big play like sudden change. Go for the juggler right now. Again, we're coaching against teenage boys, and that other coaching staff is coaching teenage boys, just like we are. They're on their heels. They're fussing at each other. Man, you got that guy. Oh, you got to stay outside. And like that. And we're coming right at them right then and snapping the football as quick as we can snap it. And that comes through preparation at practice, kids knowing what we're about to do. They know that you'll see a big play and the kids look to the sidelines and run down the field because they know we're fixing to go for it. And kids love that. They love that. So we control game tempo. We practice fast. I love practicing fast. Videotape practice. You say, oh, we're a small school. Oh, your school's so small, y'all don't have iPhones? You don't have a kid that'll stand behind you and videotape it. Open up the app and videotape practice and upload it afterwards. And videotape practice and coach later. But get reps on the field so the kids get used to going fast. I had a coach one time at a clinic say, if you practice fast all the time, coach, said, what do you do when you want to slow it down? I said, well, I'm in charge of sending the play out there. I just won't give it to them as fast. I control the tempo from the press box or the sideline, not the quarterback, and not the referee. I control the tempo. So if it's time to let the clock run, I put my hand up in the air, like that. The quarterback knows, okay, y'all chill out, just get set. We'll give them the formation, get them set, and then we'll give them the play. Control game tempo. It's not about going fast all the time, but practicing fast is a must. Coaches, we're coaches. We're not preachers. It's not time to pontificate and show off how much we know about football to a teenage boy. Do that in the locker room. Do that before and after practice. Coach their butts up, get reps. Eliminate turnovers by stressing it year-round. Now, here's what I mean by that. We will talk about turnovers in the weight room. We will do things about turnovers in the weight room, like have a football. By the way, we also learn to go fast by going fast in the weight room. We do it year round. We do things all the time. We talk ball security, like we get them real tired doing something in the weight room. Then I give a guy a football, and he's got to tuck it away and do I call it the eagle claw, and high point it and all that kind of stuff. You don't just stress turnovers starting in August. You don't stress anything starting in August. You better be, the things that matter to you, they better matter to you year round. And that's something that I've learned, over the last 20 years. Keep penalties to a minimum by stressing it year round. We go on a whistle in the weight room. We go on a whistle with our speed training. Kid jumps off sides. Boom. We got consequences, ramifications. Okay. Repercussions. We're going to do something. We're going to back them up. We're going to do extra. The whole team's going to do it. So they learn not to jump off sides. Okay. When we close grip bench press, make them keep their hands in tight. Nowadays, everybody got to keep their hands in tight. When you're stalk blocking, when you're taking somebody on the defensive line, make sure they're doing that right. So you can keep penalties to a minimum in the weight room too. And then, of course, what everybody says. Number one, score enough points to win. I'll win 2-0. And that's what I do.
Awesome. Well, Coach, jumping right next slide. I'd asked you not. We could have probably you and I could sit here for 2 hours and talk about all the formations we ran over the years. Just give these coaches kind of a base overview, right? And everything kind of gets. Every offense is two, right? Either you're a gap scheme or you're a zone scheme. The zone scheme guys the monikers are air raid, shotgun spread. You've got do you have a tight end? Do you have an H-back? Do you have sniffer back? Then back in the day, the gap scheme was the double wing, the wing tees, and the triple option. Jet sweep started showing up, and both worlds found out they could run jet sweep in both worlds. And of course, now what's happening is Kenny Simpson does a great job, running the gap scheme run stuff, but he brought his Tony Franklin philosophies over, which just sounds like kind of like what you do. I'm hardcore Dell or wing T, which is why I'm in pistol. But my passing game, I've went over to the dark side and brought some of that stuff over. And you're starting to see what guys are starting figuring out that, hey, whichever world I live in, I can take some of the zone scheme guys are like, I can take some of these gap schemes into my world, and us gap scheme wing T double wing guys, we could take some of these spread stuff. So, I've been asking you, and it's a little hard for you to explain, but Coach, if somebody asked you, let us have it. What are you X's and O's wise?
The answer is yes. I approach what I do from a Tubby Raymond mentality about putting players in conflict, putting them in a bind. And that's why I say, the wing T is not a formation. Look, you tweaked it and got in pistol, and you're running true Delaware stuff, and you're just from pistol. And what I do is I'm going to run buck. Okay. We're going to run the counter. We're going to run the power, and I'm going to run jet. And I ain't figured out a way to gap scheme the jet yet. Everybody said, well, you can block and you run power and read the end. No, then you're not running jet. Cause I'm telling you, you and I mentioned Joe Daniel a while ago off the air. Joe Daniel and I agree on that. That guy's not going as fast as he can go if you can read the jet. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I don't like it. And I'm not going to argue with somebody. If somebody wants to run it, I got good friends that read the end on the jet. That's fine. I want my guy going as fast as he can go on jet and still make the handoff. And eventually when you start seeing some videos, you're going to see some pretty shaky handoffs, but we practice it so much. Sometimes it looks like the quarterback's almost throwing it into the jetter's belly, but we practice it so much and we got really good at it. But we're going fast. And there's been years where I didn't block a 3-tech, Rick. We didn't block a 3-tech, anything inside. And I put the fastest backup we had, a fullback kind of kid, a real twitchy kid, and put him in a 3 and told him, so I'm not tricking you. Nobody's going to touch you. I want you to run as soon as the ball moves, go fast as you can go and try to touch the jetter on the hip. And that's what we got. That's how the timing got there. We put this kid right here. I call him the rabbit. Okay. Right here. We got a jet drill, and he's going to run his butt upfield. But now I've started where I'm blocking people. And that's a little bit of the zone scheme, being around those guys. And also, too, because I like throwing this backside access. If they try, I don't know why people, when they get motion away, tell their outside backer to blitz off the edge. I reckon they're there for the counter. But when our quarterback sees that pre-snap, he's going to take the snap. He's not even going to fake it. The jetter is going to fake the jet. And he's going to take one step back, and he's going to throw over here. And we've adjusted that route. That's just generic.
For our podcast listeners, what he's talking about, he took his second fastest kid on the team and basically put him at a play side 3-tech, D tackle.
Correct. Yes. and just run him up the field trying to touch the jetter on the hip. And I tell him something. I said, every time you touch him, I'll give you something. If you touch him 5 times a day, I'll give you a Gatorade after practice. Or you touch him X number of times Thursday, I'll take you home and we'll stop and get you a hamburger and something like that. Just anything like that. And it motivates them, and they get all proud of it like that. And the older kids get mad at him. It's usually like a 9th or 10th grade backup fullback is real twitchy and get off the football that's not involved in the drill. And this is our base formation for jet. And people say, well, they know you're going to do it. Well, I've got counters off of it too. And if somebody is not going to overplay me, I'll put him over here and still run jet. We've done that too. It depends on the defense. But most folks in most of the leagues I've been in the last 10, 15 years, they're going to give you an 8-man front, and it don't matter where you put people. They're going to have an outside backer here and have an outside backer here. Well, if you're going to do that, no matter what I do, I might as well put the extra blocker over here.
And so coaches, you podcast guys, remember Coach Seagle, we got a couple guys driving in their cars and they're probably mowing their grass right now. He's in shotgun. He's got his fullback as a sidecar on the opposite side of the jet. So he's bringing his slot receiver. He's in twins on the left. He's bringing his slot receiver from the left across formation and jet. He calls it a tailback like I do. He's got his tailback / fullback on the right side of the quarterback to be a lead blocker. And whether you guys call it a tight end or an H-back or a sniffer, Coach has his tight end on the line of scrimmage flexed out as a wide receiver, and he's got his H-back kind of back in kind of a wing alignment off the right tackle. I imagine you're splitting hairs. You could put the H-back on the line of scrimmage, and he could be a tight end, and you could take that flexed out receiver and put him back. Yeah, Coach is basically 2x2 coaches, shotgun with the fullback on the right. He's in a 2x2, 2x2 with a tight end / H-back. Right.
And that's why, and we do that. And that's why we do it. And if I can catch somebody that wants to adjust to this, we'll fake the jet, not even snap it. And then as soon as we do that, he'll come over here on the right side, the side we're faking jet to, and just set up. And then the H will come back over here, and now we got buck. You better be on your toes. And that's why I do that. And coaches have tendencies for a reason. And I think as long as you know you have the tendency, you're okay. Because I've had people say, well, you do this every time, some pretty sharp fans. So don't you worry. I said, well, when they do, I've got something for them. But there's no reason to run a constraint or run something if nobody's stopping it yet. And that's what I mean by that. And sometimes there'd be things that we'd practice all year, a couple, 3 times a week that we wouldn't run until the playoffs because nobody was able to stop it yet. When they figure out, oh, he's going to do this, then I've got something for them. But tendencies aren't a bad thing because they can make a defense do things.
Yep.
As long as you know
Coach,
you have
back up. I don't know who else caught that, but you got me all excited. You said you're going to run fake the jet to the right and use that H-back sniffer back. Who podcast listeners, he's lined up as a tight end on the right. Coach, you're going to take that H-back sniffer back and run buck left. So fake jet right and come back with buck left. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Coach, can you go in a little bit more details about it? Coach, you say buck, my ears perked up.
Oh, no, I'm going to take the H after we fake jet and shift him here and then run buck with the tailback right here. Because if they've already made their adjustment to jet, now they're going to have to readjust, or we're going to catch them with the britches down, and we're going to spank the little bottom.
Oh, you're not going to snap it as the jet's going across the quarterback. No. You're going to let the jet just keep on motioning out to the top of the numbers, stop, shift the H back to the left, basically flop your tight end over, then snap the ball.
Yeah. And also, too, there's a
Coach,
second
somebody needs to put you in jail for stealing, Coach. That's cheating.
Well, also, too, you're getting the advantage of getting them to jump off sides. And I'm going to tell you, I've done it very little, being able to run it, because usually they jump. And then we just move on. It's one of them things you don't run. There's been years I didn't even do it. I've been trying to find film of it, and I can't find it because we didn't do it but once or twice because people would jump or we'd never get to it. Or there was no need to do it because I can say, I'm not going to run something just for the sake of running it, Rick. I'm not going to do that. Somebody said, we've been practicing this. And no, man, we're going to keep that in our pocket, and then our other base formation, if you want to call it that, is right here. This is my buck formation.
Okay, to explain to the podcast listeners the formation and stuff. Same formation, coaches, that he's been telling me. He's a 2x2 with a tight end H-back on the right, shotgun alignment. He's got his tailback / fullback on the left side of the quarterback, and he's running buck right with double slants on the backside.
Yep. Now, what I call that an under slant. Okay. Years ago, we used to run double slant, and I just got tired of this guy not doing it right and them being on the same plane, if you will, or whatever. And so we started running this under right here where he comes underneath. And the reason why that works so well, Coach, is if the outside backer carries this, that cornerback's got to be Deion Sanders to cover that under. You know what I'm saying?
So you're in a 2x2, and the number 2 slot receiver is running a traditional slant, which most outside backers are going to run with a little bit. And so instead of running double slants, you're taking your number 1 receiver and basically running a 5-yard dig, although it looks like you're intentionally wide releasing him to the sideline, and then he's bringing it back on a 5-yard dig.
Remember what I told you about the fades?
Did I describe that correctly? Oh, yep, you wide release the sideline, so the first 3 or 4 steps looks like you're running fade.
Right. If you get that corner, we've actually done it. We've had a couple of good receivers that we didn't even give them steps. We said, just keep releasing outside, and all you're watching is the corner's hips. As soon as he flips hips to the sideline, you break back underneath on your under or your slant. We've actually just told, when we had a good enough receiver, we say, you run to come off, because we may be running something over here on the right, like a power right. And this cat over here is running a fade. Okay. Well, you say, well, you're not throwing it. Yeah, but we're putting him in, we're stressing him by running him off the ball. Okay. Yeah. By running him off the ball repeatedly. Now, when we want the throw back over, he releases just like he does on a fade and breaks back underneath. And we do the same thing on a slant. We used to call it a diamond slant, and because it's kind of a diamond shape, but that's why we do that on the under, and we do that on the slant right here. Now, I quit running slants when I realized that letting that guy sit down behind where the wheel backer was made that receiver a lot braver, because they know there's a safety back here, Rick. Yep. You know what I'm saying? They're 16 years old. They're not dumb. And but what we're doing, the base of my buck is this RPO right here on this, the first backer backside right here. That's who we're reading. And we tell the quarterback, you catch the snap and your eyes go automatically to him. I call him Will. Okay. Yeah, to the backside inside linebacker, who really should be going with that pulling left guard. Which remind me to tell you something about Buck, because I'll forget about Buck and RPO. And the running back is responsible for the mesh, because the quarterback can't look at the pocket and look at the read. And that takes a lot of reps. It's something we do in the summertime. We'll get out there. I'll get the backs and the quarterbacks with me, and I'll stand over there at wheel backer and hold up. I don't try to trick them, 1 finger or 2 fingers. And that quarterback's got to call 1 or 2 every time. If you don't call it, he owes me 5 push-ups. If he calls the wrong one, he owes me 5 push-ups. And they just sit there and watch me, and they'll sit there and watch that over and over and over again, and they learn to mesh. And the running backs are going to get the mesh right, because they're going to get a chance to run the football. And they're going to extend that football as far as they can to the backside, so they can initiate the mesh as early as possible. It gives them more time to read it. They don't stick it straight out in front of them. They extend it back toward the running back, and then they ride and decide that will. And if there's any doubt, I got a simple rhyme for them: give to live. If there's any doubt, give to live, because we're still blocking Buck over here on the front side. It's still a good football play right here. And I block true Buck. I don't block pin and pull. I don't do it. And here's the reason why. One year I may have an H that can reach that outside backer, and I may have a tackle that can reach that 5 technique. But you know what? I got to play the kids that get off the bus in the morning. And so I'm angle blocks. Anybody, I had a 285-pound tackle about 6, 7, 8 years ago that went on and played FCS ball. And I could have zoned with him all day long. But here's the thing. The next year, when he graduated, I had a 185-pound right tackle. But he can down block, and I don't care who you are, and I won't argue with you, but you ain't going to convince me that a down block ain't easier than a reach block.
Right.
It just ain't so. That was my least favorite block when I was in school, when I played. I hated a reach block. I was thinking like, dang, coach, why don't you let him block down on him and I'll just wrap around him? That's what I was thinking then. My grandfather was a hardworking man, but he always said, son, it's better to work smart than work hard.
Yep.
And down blocks, angles. God gives us angles. Use the angles. And that's why I do it the way I do it. But what I was going to tell you a while ago, the reason I love the two best plays, in my opinion, to RPO off of are the buck sweep and the GT counter. And the reason why, both of them have two pulling linemen, and pulling linemen are like catnip to linebackers. They're going to trigger. Like this wheel right here. I mean, how many times in your career, Rick, running buck, has a backside backer like this done a run through on your butt? Sliding through right here or right through here. It's because that's the bad thing about gap scheme. That's what all the zone guys will say. Well, when you zone, you don't get run throughs. Well, with this RPO, please run through. In the words of Brer Rabbit, please don't throw me in that briar patch. And because if you're doing that, now I'm fixing to make you wrong. We're going to use your technique against you. Your linebacker coach has told you when that guard pulls, that triggers you. Okay. Now, when that guard pulls, that quarterback's reading your fanny, and we're going to throw it right where you left from. We're going to throw it where they ain't. As the great hitter Wee Willie Keeler back in the 1800s said, hit it where they ain't. He was the last man to bat 400 or something like that before Ted Williams. But that's what you do. And that's the basis. Everything. I can run 3 blocking schemes running the ball. And that's buck, and that's jet, and that's counter, and that's power, which to me is the same as counter. The front side's the same. So but power and counter are the same thing to me. Okay. I don't care about what goes on in the backfield. Don't frig around with my offensive lineman. Okay. You can do anything you want to up front in the backfield. Just don't mess around with the offensive lineman. And so those basic schemes right there, that's the basis of the offense. And you got to have kids. You got to have players that can play. But, you work hard, you do something, and there's no confusion up front because they're just doing the same stuff over and over again on the front. And that's what we do. We're going to buck them, we're going to jet them, and we're going to power them.
Hey, and Coach, you really touched on one of my pet peeves. I'm real blessed right now in my life. I get travel all over the country doing clinics, and people say, well, the pin and pull, that's just buck sweep. And I just I have to bite my lip. I said, so because anybody who pulls 2 linemen, you're just going to throw them into the wing T bucket. You're not giving Tubby Raymond, who, I think is one of the smartest coaches alive or smartest coaches in our game. You're not giving him enough credit. So just because you pulled 2 linemen, all of a sudden you're going to compare that to buck sweep. No way, sir. Because just what you said, the pin and pull on the play side, they got that reach block. Well, we're down blocking, and that's a big difference when you've got 180, 190 pound linemen like what you and I've had over our years. Yes. Coach, we do got to wrap up. I'm sure this guy's done mowing his yard, Coach. God, Coach, I could sit here for hours and listen to your stories. But we've been on here, Coach, for about an hour 20. Coach, you're kind of at the let's just kind of unshare your screen and let's talk to the viewers a little bit. So, Coach, you're kind of riding off in the sunset here. I know I'm coming out here a little bit to visit with you, and you've already publicly announced you're leaving the classroom, but you're going to stay on the field. You're going up the road and going to coach at a school, but not be a teacher. So, Coach, at this point in your career, you could just go fishing every day. Do a little hunting out there in Georgia. Maybe learn how to play golf. Why jump into this, with making books and videos now and going into this publishing world? And I know you're real excited about joining me on the speaking circuit and getting around and things like that. Why do that, Coach, instead of just go golfing and fishing? Because you're not casting pine cones when you're golfing and fishing, man. I think I'm reading a book now called Strength to Strength. There's a guy about my age that wrote it. He's a professor at Harvard, and he's a political scientist. And he's talking about finding your second curve in life. And I've been reading. That was the other thing I didn't tell you either, Rick, what I decided to do about the classroom. And then you called literally out of the blue, Well, Coach, I'm going to stop you there because we're both religious men. And I don't believe that was coincidence, right? Coach, oh, no. I believe God puts people on the same path. Coach, I'm not kidding. I'm sitting there having my cup of coffee. I read your, every morning I see your Facebook post where it's I think you call it Words by Chip. And it was some real positive post. And and then I'm like, gosh, I haven't seen Chip since that Dublin clinic. And then I'm thinking, you know what? I wonder if he wants to make a video. Coach, I have no idea why that idea popped in my mind. And I get that idea and send you that text message, and your mind's sitting there going, hey, I want to put some stuff out there and kind of leave a legacy. That's not coincidence, Coach. That God got in both of our minds, so our paths would line up.
And you're in California and I'm in West Georgia. So, but and I was like, and my wife said, he just called. I said, yeah. I said, because I've been reading this book. I'm looking for what the guy in the book calls your second curve. We lose what he calls fluid intelligence, like learning new things, but the wisdom we learn from the other year is still there. And so that's why I said, I'm going to find my second curve. And that's when I made the decision that I'm going to do something different, focus more on my YouTubes and the books that I've been writing. I've been self-publishing and all that. And then out of the blue, like I said, I keep saying out of the blue, but you know what I mean? It was just, and I was like, holy cats, man, all this stuff just coming together. And I'll tell you something else that was weird too. The principal at the school, I was up for the head job. He got sick and it slowed down the naming of the head coach. If he hadn't gotten sick, I would have taken that job. Wow. And then you would have called and I would have go like, Rick, I'm sorry, man. I just took this job and there's no way I could do both, And so even that, and I told the principal that, and he goes, wow. And he's a bivocational preacher. And he went, man, he goes, he said, and he goes, well, I'm proud for you. And everybody at the school, nobody's mad at me. The other coaches aren't mad at me because they were expecting me to take over, and nobody's mad. They're also, oh, man, you can't pass this up. This is a great opportunity for you. And 2 or 3 of them are aware of you because they're football nerds and they watch your stuff and have seen your videos and seen you speak at clinics. And they were like, really? And I said, yeah, man, it just like, and they said, you can't pass that up. And that's why I'm doing it. And as I've gotten not old, but older, I find myself not just wanting to make a difference with the players, but with these coaches. I got so many young coaches that are in my circle, and so many young guys and they keep me young, but also too, they're learning from me. And not that I'm a guru, because I'm not, but here's the advantage of living this long. And I'm not that old, but for a coach, I am, I guess. And coaching this long, I've survived my mistakes. I'm kind of like farmer's insurance. I know a lot because I've seen a lot, and that's why it's not that, because so many guys my age have gone into administration or have gone into selling insurance or whatever. I got no desire for that. I had one ask me, they said, stay here and be the head coach and be our assistant principal. I went, oh, no, I'm just, I have no desire to go into administration. I want to be on the field. I want to be affecting change in people's lives through football, and there's a way, and there's some people that talk about you shouldn't be charging for this stuff. And I'll quote the scripture, you're worth your work. The Apostle Paul said, don't be giving these guys a hard time, feed them and pay them for their time. And I'm not charging people an exorbitant amount of money. I'm selling those books for $20, Rick. Right. And you don't charge a ton of money. I went on and looked at some of your stuff and I went like, God, it's been several years since I've been on his webpage. I said, it's justifying my time and your time away from our kids, grandkids, and wives. And so I'm not just going to give away 50 years of being on the football field. And so I don't apologize to anybody. And Kenny and I talked about that. It's the same thing. I mean, so are you going to fuss at a preacher because he's charging you for the sermon?
Exactly. So, I don't have a problem with either. And hey, I'll be the first one to tell people, listen, I'm not going to Hawaii on this money, right? I do this to help coaches, but Coach, we talked about earlier in our career, the thousands and thousands of dollars we have spent on videos and clinics. And then right now here, you and I are talking, my wife's out there having dinner by herself. Your wife's already crawled into bed. And I think you got to be compensated. My books that I sell, they're very intense. They're 300 pages. The books that we're going to get you going with, I spent probably easily 300 hours on each book, right? And you're just starting down that journey. And now I'm going to come in and help you a little bit. And I'm really excited. Coaches, we're going to be going down this journey. Coach Seagle and I, we're going to be spending this summer. If you're hearing this podcast late, because these things are up forever. Coach and I are sitting here recording this in March of 2022. I'm going to spend this spring and summer getting, this 37 years of knowledge onto some videos and books so we can help that next generation of coaches. We'll be launching Coach Seagle's full offensive system, if you want to call it that, in November of 2022. But Coach does have some projects he's currently going on. And by the way, coaches, you'll find all this stuff on the allaccesscoaching.com website. This video podcast will be on the Glazier Drive and the All Access Coaching website. This video will be on Coach's YouTube channel. Coach, tell them about how do they find you on Facebook and YouTube?
I've got just go find Chip Seagle. And if it's a young guy that pops up on Facebook, that's not me. There's another Chip Seagle in South Carolina, spells his name the same way. And you spell my name S-Eagle. Okay. And you can find me on YouTube at Football Talk with Coach Chip. I've had people tell me. That's what it is. Football Talk with Coach Chip. That's what you call it. I love that. Yeah. Okay. And I think my wife and I came up with that together. And I had coaches fuss at me. It ain't football talk. It's all offense. And I said, well, get your own dadgum YouTube channel. But we're joking with each other. But Football Talk with Coach Chip. I have a Facebook page that I'm trying to, a group called Football Talk with Coach Chip, and I'm trying to get it going. I've asked Kenny, how'd you do that, Kenny? He's really good at what he does. I love Kenny Simpson. Yeah. And I'm at Chip Seagle on Twitter. And I've got a saying that I tell guys on the YouTube. I said, if you ain't got it, and I do, it's because you ain't asked. I'll help people. You email me. I was just on the emailing with some guys before you, my wife's going to be so glad when school's over and I can do this, because I'll come in from school and get on the computer and I'm talking with coaches all over the country. I got a coach in the Czech Republic I've been talking to, of all things, and one in Italy. And I don't have a big following. I told Tammy I got 1,300 subscribers and about 40 or 50 of them just love Chip. And so, I'm not exactly Elvis of football over here, but I've got a handful that love Chip, and they're going to email me. They're going to hit me up. Some of them we gotten tight. We've exchanged numbers. I've talked with them on the phone. We've text back and forth, and it's just because I love football. I do, and I love people, and I love helping people, and I even tell you that, I just want to help. And I found out, and I know you know this, writing a book is hard. A lot of time. And that's why I told my wife, I said, I'm going to charge for these. Because this is hard. I just got back from speaking at the Glazier Clinic, and people heard me, and I take my big old suitcase and all my books up there, and trust me, coaches, if there was a way I could just show up to a Glazier Clinic and give everybody walked in the door a book, I would. But holy moly, I've written 4, and each one probably took me 200 to 300 hours. So I've got about 1,200 hours, even at minimum wage, right? I'm not very good at math. I don't think either one of us are math teachers, but if I got 1,200 hours in at $15 an hour, because minimum wage in California is $15 an hour, coach, yes. And that Pistol Wing T book, I've written it 3 times, because the other thing about both of us, Coach, and Kenny Simpson, all of us, you write the book and then you thumb through it and you're going, oh man, I could have done that better. Why did I write it that way? And then you go back and redo it because you learn something new for perfection. Or you learn something new. Like,
that's the other thing, Coach. I have become I haven't been 37 years like you. I'm in year 32, but I became such a better coach when I wrote the books, and when Glazier put me in front of that first room and I had to sit there and try to explain my Pistol Wing T system. I am such a better coach now that I've went down on that journey. And I'm going to tell coaches that even if you don't want to write a book to sell, force yourself to sit down and put it on paper and organize your thoughts. And maybe it's just something that only your wife and your kids see, right? Or maybe after you get done writing it, you let your dog eat it. You are going to be such a better coach if you force yourself to sit down and organize your thoughts like that. I don't even know how to describe that, but it was such a fulfilling journey for me. And I know now you're on your second book, right, Coach?
No, I'm right
Big
now.
Book of Bucks.
And then my playbook,
okay,
which is going to be tweaked over and over again. And then right now I'm working on a jet book and a quick game book.
Yeah.
Quick passing game.
Yep.
You know, and awesome. One of the reasons I love the wing tee, like the way Kenny does it and kind of the way I do it, is you've got your spread principles to your twin side, and then you got your wing tee principles to the other side. Now they got to prepare for two different offenses every snap, because you can air raid them on one side and Delaware them on the other side. And you know, I mean, not pure, you know what I'm saying though, but
yep.
That's why I love it. And that's what, and so I got the quick game I'm working on. I'm up to like 80 something pages on it. And then the jet one has been working on forever, but we're talking about learning new stuff. I don't even block the jet the way I blocked it 6 years ago. I've been constantly tweaking it because we got that backside access throw. And my quarterback got hit in the mouth a few years ago because we were blocking it the old way. And I said, oh, crap, I got to block that DN to keep him off my quarterback. And so like we're almost like base blocking on the backside and then full reaching on the front side now. Yep. And that was like 3-4 years ago. I changed that.
Yep.
And if you're not changing, then you're not learning. So
awesome. Well, hey, coaches, hope you got your workout in. We've entertained you enough on this long drive wherever you were driving to. Of course, you guys are watching the video. You're watching two guys with gray hairs growing off their face. But go over to allaccesscoaching.com and see what we've got offer over there. Again, I built that website to help coaches. I'm really proud of it. Here in the very near future, Coach Seagle's products will be up on that website. But if you want to get a hold of Coach Seagle, you just heard it. It's Football Talk with Coach Chip on YouTube and on Facebook. And his Twitter handle is pretty easy. It's just his name, @Chip Seagle. And then he's got this book. The one book is published. He's already got it out there. And I still owe him an endorsement. He asked me for a while back, and I'm right in the middle of clinic season. I'm only home 3 days a week, but I'm going to get that to you, Coach. He calls it My Big Book of Bucks. And then we'll get this jet sweep one out and these passing game ones out here real soon. And I'm excited, Coach. In a couple of days, I'll be out there in your neck of the woods, and we're going to hang out for the day and just talk stories. Coach, I could listen to you for hours. So, coaches, again, this podcast was brought to you by allaccesscoaching.com. We're a group of championship-level coaches, all dedicated to helping you as a coach. We have tons of free content on the website. Please go over there. The Coach's Corner has hundreds and hundreds of blog articles. We do 3 webinars a week. This is one of them. We have all of our podcasts organized by subject on our website, but you can find all of our podcasts everywhere podcasts are found: Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. And all this is free, coaches. Just go to my website, podcast, webinars, blog articles, forums. We do have our camps and clinics page if you're interested in what city our team of coaches are speaking in next, or you could attend one of our mini deep dive installs or system clinics that Kenny Simpson and myself are putting on. Deep dives are not your typical clinic. They're deep dives where you learn everything about the system. Our online store has 800 courses, 20 playbooks, and 17 systems. But of course, if you're a member of our website, you get all that for free. So coaches, please go over allaccesscoaching.com and see all the free resources and the stuff that I build to really help coaches. Coaches, again, we appreciate your time. Hopefully you got a good drive in, a good workout. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and follow us on our YouTube channel. Thanks for coming on, Coach. This was a blast.
It was great. I appreciate it, Rick. Thank you so much. I look forward to what we're going to do, dude.
Yep, I'm excited. It's going to be a good journey. Good journey.